Welcome, Mihal. Thanks for taking the time out to chat about your latest interview for Diplomat Ireland and Diplomat Northern Ireland.
Well, thank you for having me today.
I understand you just finished a wide ranging, exclusive interview with the Iranian ambassador to Ireland. Tell me about it.
I was very grateful Dr. Islami granted me an in depth and extensive interview on all the hot topics of today. It'll be released in a three-part series beginning on the 27th of October.
When Iran is in the news, it's almost always something negative. Were you surprised the Iranian ambassador granted you such a wide ranging interview on sometimes very contentious topics?
It was a no holds barred interview. I asked the tough questions and he gave his answers. People will have to make their own judgments about the sufficiency of those answers. My job as a journalist is to ask the questions that people may want to know the answers to. And I think there's an imbalance in the media that the US gets lots of ink and Iran gets very little. And when they do, it's always negative. There may be reasons for that, but I wanted to ask the questions that people would want to know the answers to, especially in the lead up to the US elections and given all that's gone on this year with Iran.
What is your biggest takeaway from this interview?
I guess one of the things that surprised me was Iran's willingness to have a constructive dialogue with the United States in the future, despite all that's happened. With the Trump administration withdrawing from the JCPOA and then trying to reimpose sanctions, it's been a very difficult year for Iran. Basic medicines are in desperate supply. The humanitarian suffering is significant. And I think that the willingness of Iran to at least say if the US takes steps forward, they may be willing to as well, is a positive sign for diplomacy.
How are you finding it? Conducting interviews during this pandemic?
It's very hard to get a face to face interview these days for obvious reasons. So I sometimes have to resort to the telephone and to written questions back and forth through email, which makes it difficult to ask the contemporaneous follow up question. So it's not the kind of reporting that I would like best to do, but I still think there's some quality reporting there. It won't make everybody happy. There'll be critics saying I was too soft or too hard, but the issue is to get the issues out there.
Mihal, we certainly look forward to reading this three-part series to diplomat.ie.
Thank you very much. I look forward to talking to you again soon.